The mysterious threat. The galaxy was in chaos. Planets once full of life and hope had fallen silent, consumed by an unstoppable force. The great alien civilizations, which had thrived for centuries, were now on the brink of destruction. No one knew where the invaders had come from, or who they were. All that was certain was that they were ruthless. Cities had been burned to the ground, entire fleets destroyed, and hope seemed like a distant memory. The aliens had never faced anything like this before. For the first time, the great leaders of the galaxy gathered in secret. The meeting was held on a small, hidden planet far from the reach of the invaders. In the darkened war room, representatives from every corner of the galaxy spoke in hushed voices. The once proud species that had conquered and explored the stars were now struggling to survive. Alien species, once united in peace, were now divided, arguing over how to face the terror that was sweeping through the galaxy. One by one, the leaders spoke of their losses. The Ferocians, a race of giant warriors, had watched their cities crumble beneath the invaders' power. The Skelchans, a race known for their advanced technology, had seen their best defenses fail in a matter of hours. The Mardaks, a species known for their speed and stealth, were now scattered, their people hiding in the shadows, afraid to make a move. The invaders had swept through planet after planet, leaving nothing but death in their wake. The galaxy's greatest minds had come together to find a way to fight back, but they were powerless. The invaders were too strong, too fast, too smart. "We need something different," said the leader of the Ferocians, his voice low and filled with fear. "We cannot defeat them with weapons alone. They are too advanced. Their forces are endless." "There must be a way," said the Skelchan representative. "We have to find a weakness. All enemies have one. We just have to discover it." But no matter how hard they tried, the galaxy's best scientists and military commanders could not find a solution. Each planet the invaders attacked fell within hours. The galaxy had never seen a force like this, an enemy who seemed to know every move they would make before they made it. Then, in the midst of the meeting, a message arrived. It was not from one of the leaders, nor from any known species. It was a message from an unknown source. The message was brief and filled with strange symbols that none of the galaxy's translators could decode. But there was one part of the message that was clear. Help is on the way. The terrifying humans have come. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at each other, confused and unsure of what this meant. Who were the humans? No one in the galaxy had ever heard of them. The Mardaks, whose scouts were the fastest in the galaxy, had no record of such a species. The Skelchans, with their vast knowledge of the stars, had never encountered anything like them. The Ferocians, with their warriors, knew of every race that could pose a threat. And yet, humans were a mystery. "Who are they?" asked the Mardak leader, his voice filled with doubt. "We've never heard of any humans. How can we trust this message?" "I don't know," said the Skelchan representative, his eyes narrowed. "But the message is clear. The humans are coming, and they will help us." But there was something unsettling about the message. The words "terrifying humans" echoed in the minds of everyone in the room. What did it mean? What was so terrifying about these humans? They didn't have any records of such a race, and yet the message implied that they were the key to stopping the invaders. But how could that be? How could a race they had never even heard of be the saviors of the galaxy? As the leaders debated the meaning of the message, another transmission came in. This one was different. A transmission from an unknown ship, traveling through space at incredible speed. It was a single image, a massive, dark vessel, sleek and imposing, cutting through the stars. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The ship was enormous, with sharp edges and glowing lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. It looked like a weapon, like something built for destruction. And as it approached, the galaxy felt its power. The message was clear. The humans were coming. The leaders of the galaxy knew they had no choice but to wait. They had to put their faith in these mysterious humans, whoever they were. But doubts filled their minds. What if these humans weren't here to help? What if they were another force, even more dangerous than the invaders? The fear of the unknown was the worst kind of fear. The galaxy had no answers, only more questions. And as the transmission ended, the feeling of dread deepened. What would happen when these terrifying humans arrived? Would they bring salvation or destruction? The galaxy held its breath. A dark arrival. The galaxy waited in suspense. Days passed, then weeks, but the mysterious ship never arrived. The leaders of the galaxy grew anxious, their minds consumed by the fear of what might come. Had the message been a lie, or was the human ship simply lost in the vastness of space? Then, one fateful day, a signal was received. A cold, emotionless voice crackled through the transmission, and the galaxy's leaders paused as they heard the words they had been dreading. "We are here." The words echoed through the war room, sending a chill down the spines of the leaders. The voice was not loud, but it carried an undeniable weight. The humans had arrived. The Ferocian leader was the first to speak. "Where are they?" he demanded, his voice trembling with a mixture of curiosity and fear. "Why haven't they contacted us sooner?" No answer came. Instead, a dark silhouette appeared on the galaxy's sensors. A ship, massive and imposing, moved through the stars. Its design unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not round like the ships of the Skelchans, nor was it built like the sleek, angular ships of the Mardaks. This ship was jagged, sharp, like a weapon made for war. Its black exterior seemed to absorb the light, making it appear even larger and more menacing. The ship was unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered, and its presence was enough to make the bravest of leaders feel a cold sweat on their brows. It was as if the very sight of it brought with it an overwhelming sense of dread. As the ship drew closer, the leaders of the galaxy watched in disbelief. It was slow at first, as if giving them time to prepare for the arrival, but the tension in the air was suffocating. The message that had been sent weeks before was becoming more real with every passing moment. "Why are they taking so long to land?" asked the Skelchan leader, his eyes fixed on the approaching ship. "Why are they waiting?" "Perhaps they want to show us their power," suggested the Mardak leader, her voice filled with uncertainty. "Perhaps they want us to know who is in charge." The Ferocian clenched his fists, his anger rising. "They've arrived late, and now they waste time. I say we contact them directly. If they are truly here to help, they will respond." The galaxy's leaders watched as the ship finally stopped, hovering above a barren world, the location of their meeting. The ship's dark silhouette cast a shadow across the surface below, making the planet look smaller, weaker in its presence. A message was sent, but this time the humans responded. The voice came again, cold and distant. "We are the terrifying humans. We do not answer to others. We act on our own. Prepare for your salvation and your destruction." The words struck like lightning, a mix of hope and terror. The galaxy's leaders were shaken. Were these humans really here to save them? Or was this just the beginning of something far darker? The voice offered no answers, only more questions. No one knew what to expect when the humans finally stepped onto the surface of the planet. Would they be the powerful saviors they promised to be, or something worse? The Ferocian leader ordered his warriors to stand ready, their massive bodies prepared for anything. The Skelchan leader activated his fleet's shields, preparing for any potential attack. The Mardak spies scouted the area, their quick movements ready to ensure that no surprise could catch them off guard. And then it happened. A door opened on the human ship. At first, nothing appeared. The air around the ship crackled, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. There was no sound, no warning, just an overwhelming presence. Slowly, a figure emerged. It wasn't a leader, nor a soldier, nor anyone the galaxy's leaders had ever imagined. It was a humanoid figure, standing tall and imposing. Their face was obscured by a dark helmet, the only visible feature being a cold, glowing eye. The figure was dressed in black armor, unlike anything seen before. its surface covered in strange symbols and marks. The armor seemed to shimmer and pulse with an energy of its own. Behind the first figure, others began to emerge, one by one. They came, humans, but not like anything the galaxy had ever expected. They were not friendly, nor were they merciful. Each one exuded a sense of coldness and power, a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The leaders of the galaxy watched in shock. There was no greeting, no offer of peace. The humans simply stood, their cold eyes scanning the area, their presence alone overwhelming every other race. "Is this?" began the Mardak leader, her voice barely a whisper. The Skelchen cut her off, his voice trembling with fear. "This is not what I expected." A moment of silence followed. The galaxy's leaders had no idea how to react. Were the humans truly here to save them, or had they come to show just how terrifying they could be? The first human spoke again, their voice harsh and commanding. "We do not need your trust. We do not need your help. We have come to end this war." A new wave of fear swept through the room. The humans had arrived, but their intentions were still unclear. Were they here to help, or were they a new threat, even more dangerous than the ones they had faced? And so, with one chilling statement, the humans had arrived. The galaxy was about to learn just how terrifying they could be. "You said, the terrifying power of humanity." The galaxy stood on the edge of a knife. The humans had arrived, but no one could guess what their next move would be. The leaders of the galaxy, though terrified, had no choice but to follow the humans' lead. They were the only force capable of stopping the invasion, but at what cost? No one had expected such an arrival. The humans had made their intentions clear. They had come to end the war, but their methods would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the human warriors began to take control of the war-torn planet, their power became immediately evident. There was no hesitation, no mercy in their actions. The invaders, who had crushed so many other civilizations, seemed to shrink in fear when faced with the human force. They had thought their weapons were unmatched, their strategies flawless, but nothing had prepared them for the humans. The humans did not just fight, they obliterated. On the battlefield, the sky was filled with explosions. The ground shook beneath the weight of the human weapons. The Ferocians, known for their strength and massive size, stood in awe as they watched the humans tear through the invaders' lines with ruthless efficiency. Their weapons didn't just kill, they vaporized everything in their path. Entire groups of invaders were wiped out with a single strike. "We thought we were strong," muttered the Ferocian leader, watching as a human fighter launched a barrage of energy blasts that sent entire enemy battalions running for their lives. But these humans are something else. The Mardaks, known for their speed and stealth, tried to outmaneuver the humans, but it was futile. The humans anticipated their every move, countering their tactics with ease. The Mardak spies, once considered the fastest in the galaxy, found themselves struggling to keep up with the humans' overwhelming power and precision. Even their cloaking technology failed against the humans' enhanced senses. But what terrified the galaxy's leaders the most was the coldness with which the humans fought. There was no hesitation, no attempt to negotiate. They simply destroyed the invaders, leaving no room for escape or mercy. It wasn't just their weapons that were terrifying. It was the way they fought. The humans didn't just want to win. They wanted to wipe the invaders from existence. And they were succeeding. As the battle raged on, the leaders of the galaxy watched from a hidden command center, their fear growing with every passing minute. The humans had not only stopped the invaders, they were turning the tide of the war. But at what cost? This is too much," said the Skelchen representative, his voice filled with dread. "We've never seen anything like it. They're not just defeating the invaders, they are erasing them." The Ferocian leader clenched his fists, torn between awe and fear. Is this what it takes to win? Is this the only way? No one had an answer. The humans fought with a power and coldness that sent a clear message. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to end the war, and their way was the only way. Meanwhile, the invaders began to retreat. The once feared enemy, who had crushed so many civilizations without a second thought, were now scrambling to find any means of escape. They had underestimated the humans. They thought their technology, their weapons, and their strength would be enough to conquer the galaxy, but nothing had prepared them for the terrifying power of humanity. The leader of the invaders, a towering alien known for his intelligence and cunning, watched from his command ship as his forces were torn apart. He had never feared an enemy before. But now, as the humans advanced, he felt a growing unease. There was something about them that he couldn't understand. They weren't like any race he had encountered. They didn't fight for glory, or honor, or even survival. They fought to dominate. And the galaxy had never seen anything like it. "Retreat," the invader leader ordered, his voice cracking with fear. "We cannot face them. The humans. They're unstoppable." The remaining invaders tried to flee, but it was too late. The humans pursued them with relentless determination, cutting them down one by one. Their ships were destroyed in the blink of an eye. Their fleets, once mighty, were reduced to smoldering wreckage. It was clear the invaders had lost, and they had no one but the humans to blame. The galaxy's leaders, still watching in disbelief, began to realize the true cost of the humans' power. They had saved the galaxy, yes, but at what price? The humans did not simply fight to protect. They fought to erase. And what would happen if they turned that power against the galaxy itself? The Skelchen leader turned to the Ferocian, his voice filled with uncertainty. "We've won the battle, but what if the humans are the real threat?" The Ferocian leader nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing. "We've been saved, but I'm not sure we've been delivered. We've seen their power, and now we have to wonder, are we next?" The humans had shown their strength, but the galaxy was beginning to wonder if they were the true saviors, or if the terror they had unleashed would one day be turned on the galaxy itself. As the dust settled, and the last of the invaders were wiped from existence, the leaders of the galaxy knew one thing for sure. They had made a dangerous choice. The humans had arrived to save them, but in doing so, they had brought a terrifying new power into the galaxy. And no one knew what that power would bring next, the hidden secret of humans. In the aftermath of the invasion, the galaxy was left to rebuild, but something was off. The humans had saved them, yes, but their victory had come with a chilling price. The invaders had been obliterated, but now, the galaxy's leaders began to question the true nature of the humans and their power. The leaders of the galaxy had been in awe of the humans' ability to wipe out the invaders with ruthless efficiency. But as they tried to understand how it was possible, they realized that the humans weren't just using advanced technology or superior weapons. There was something else, something deeper that made their power so terrifying. The Skelchen scientists were the first to start investigating. They had always prided themselves on their technological advancements, but even they couldn't comprehend the level of destruction the humans were capable of. There had been no sign of a hidden weapon, no hidden technology in their ships. It wasn't their technology that made the humans so deadly, it was something else entirely. And so, the Skelchen scientists began to dig deeper. They spent weeks trying to understand the humans, analyzing every piece of data they had collected from the battle. Their search led them to a shocking discovery. The true source of the humans' power was not their weapons, but something far more terrifying, the humans themselves. It was in their biology. The humans had unlocked something within themselves that no other species in the galaxy had ever even dreamed of. Their bodies were enhanced in ways that defied understanding. They had evolved far beyond what any race had ever imagined. It's not their ships or their technology that makes them so powerful, one of the Skelchen scientists said, his voice trembling. It's them. The humans themselves are weapons. The Ferocian leader, who had seen the humans in action firsthand, nodded grimly. "I suspected as much, but I never thought. I never imagined they could be so dangerous." The Marduk leader, always skeptical, stared at the data in disbelief. Are you telling me the humans are stronger than any race in the galaxy, just because of their biology? Yes, the Skelchen scientist replied. They have somehow evolved to be faster, stronger, and more resilient than any other species. But that's not all. There's something in their DNA, something that allows them to tap into unimaginable power. Their bodies have adapted in ways we cannot explain. The galaxy's leaders were stunned. They had never considered the possibility that the humans were more than just a race of warriors. They were living weapons, capable of unimaginable destruction. The very thought sent a shiver down their spines. But even as they tried to understand the humans' true nature, a darker truth began to emerge. The humans' power wasn't just physical. It was something deeper, something far more sinister. Their biology allowed them to access something beyond physical strength, something that made them almost unstoppable. The humans were not just fighters. They were conquerors. Their desire to dominate, to control, was built into their very biology. And as the galaxy's leaders came to understand this, they realized the true cost of their alliance with the humans. The Skelchen scientists discovered that the humans had unlocked the ability to manipulate energy in ways that no other species could. They could create devastating waves of force with nothing but their will. They could destroy entire fleets or shape the battlefield to their advantage. And worse yet, they could do all of this with a level of precision and control that no one else could match. This is no longer just a war for survival, the Ferocian leader said, his voice heavy with fear. This is a war for dominance. And the humans are not here to simply help us. They are here to rule. The Marduk leader paced back and forth, his mind racing. How can we trust them now? How can we trust a race that has this kind of power and no reason to hold back? What will stop them from turning on us? The Skelchen representative, who had been silent until now, spoke up. We cannot stop them. No one can. The humans are. They are beyond our understanding. We may have won the battle, but we have not won the war. And that was the terrifying truth. The humans had not come to save the galaxy. They had come to dominate it. They had used the threat of the invaders to make themselves indispensable, to make the galaxy's leaders believe they were the only ones capable of stopping the destruction. But now that the invaders were gone, what was to stop the humans from turning their power on the very species they had saved? As the Skelchen scientists continued their research, they discovered even more unsettling information. The humans' power was not just physical, it was mental as well. They had mastered the art of warfare in ways no other species could comprehend. They had a level of focus and discipline that was terrifying. The humans were not just warriors. They were strategists, capable of planning every move with terrifying precision. It became clear the humans had been holding back. They had only shown a fraction of their true power in the battle with the invaders. And now that the invaders were gone, the galaxy's leaders were left with a terrifying question. Would the humans use their power for good, or would they turn it on the galaxy itself? The galaxy's leaders had no answers, only fear. And as they watched the humans stand victorious, their eyes cold and calculating, the question loomed large in their minds. Had they just been saved, or had they just unleashed a new kind of terror upon the universe, the unseen agenda? The galaxy had barely begun to recover from the invasion, yet the question on every leader's mind was the same. What now? The humans had not only saved them from annihilation, but had shown them a power unlike any other race in the galaxy. A power that both awed and terrified. And now that the invaders were no more, the galaxy was left with a pressing concern. What would the humans do next? In the grand halls of the Skelchen Empire, the leaders met in secret, their faces grim. There was no celebration, no victory songs. The humans had fought and won, but their presence had left a lingering fear in the hearts of every leader. They had been saved, yes, but at what cost? And was the price worth it? The Ferocian leader spoke first, his voice low and filled with suspicion. We've seen their strength, their power. They have defeated the invaders without question. But their methods, there's something unnatural about the way they fight. It's not just technology or weaponry, it's something else. They have shown no mercy. What if they decide they no longer need us? The Skelton leader nodded, a deep unease settling in his chest. I fear we have made a terrible mistake. We invited them here, thinking they were our salvation. But what if they were never here to save us? What if they are simply waiting for the right moment to reveal their true intentions? The Marduk leader, always the skeptic, looked from one face to another. And how do we stop them if that's the case? We've seen how easily they can destroy. Even if we united every fleet, every army, could we really stand against them? The leaders fell silent. The galaxy was vast, but in the face of humanity's power, it suddenly seemed small. The humans had come from nowhere, and now they stood at the edge of every world, watching, waiting. They had not once sought to negotiate or create alliances. They had not even shared their true goals. They had simply arrived and acted, coldly, decisively, and without hesitation. Meanwhile, on the surface of the planet where the final battle had been fought, the humans had begun to establish their own presence. Their massive ships loomed over the desolate world, their dark silhouettes a constant reminder of the power they wielded. The human warriors, clad in black armor, had taken control of the planetary defenses. They had offered nothing but orders, nothing but demands for submission. The humans did not ask for help. They did not seek permission. They acted as though they were the rightful rulers of the galaxy, and the galaxy's leaders were simply guests in their domain. A transmission was received from the human leader, their voice cold and distant. We have begun to rebuild. The galaxy has been saved. Now, it is time for you to accept your place. You will all fall in line, or you will face the consequences. The message was chilling in its simplicity. There was no offer of peace, no promise of cooperation. The humans had made it clear. They were in charge, and the galaxy's leaders had no choice but to obey. But not everyone was willing to simply bow to the humans. In the shadows of the galaxy, resistance was beginning to stir. Some of the older races, those who had fought for centuries to hold on to their power, began to question whether the humans had any right to dictate their future. The Skeltians, Ferosians, and Marduks were not the only ones who felt threatened. Other factions, once rivals, now found themselves united by a common fear. The humans were coming to dominate them all. A secret council of resistance leaders began to form, their goal clear: to discover the humans' true intentions, and, if necessary, to stop them before they could impose their will on the galaxy. But their task was not an easy one. The humans were everywhere, watching every move, listening to every word. They had an uncanny ability to find any plot against them, and they showed no mercy to those who opposed them. Back in the war rooms of the galaxy's leaders, the tension was palpable. Plans were being made in hushed tones. Weapons were being tested in secret, hidden away from human eyes. The leaders knew they could not afford to wait. The humans' agenda was still unclear, and their growing presence was becoming impossible to ignore. Every move they made seemed to be calculated, as though they were positioning themselves for something greater. But still, no one had the answers. No one knew what the humans were truly after. As the galaxy's leaders looked around the table, each one knew that a dangerous game was unfolding. The humans had the power to reshape the galaxy in their image. But would they use that power for good, or would they enslave the galaxy, ruling with an iron fist? There was no clear answer, and it was beginning to look as though the galaxy's leaders had made a terrible mistake. They had trusted the humans, hoping for salvation. But now, they were beginning to see the terrifying truth. The humans did not need them, and they did not want their trust. They had come to rule. And now, it was a race against time. Would the galaxy's leaders find a way to stop the humans before they grew too powerful? Or would they have no choice but to bow to the terrifying rulers they had invited into their world? The game had changed, and the galaxy was no longer in control. The rise of resistance. The tension in the galaxy had reached a boiling point. In every corner of the known universe, whispers of rebellion and defiance against the humans were spreading like wildfire. The once celebrated saviors had become the most feared presence in the galaxy. The leaders who had once welcomed them now found themselves questioning whether they had made a grave mistake. Resistance movements began to form in secret, organizing in the shadows. Old rivalries were set aside as the once divided factions of the galaxy united under a single cause: to overthrow the humans and reclaim their freedom. But this was not an easy task. The humans had proven time and time again that they were a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever known. Their power, their cold, calculating precision, and their ruthless tactics made them virtually unstoppable. In the heart of the Skelchen Empire, a small group of leaders and strategists met in a hidden underground bunker, away from the watchful eyes of the humans. They knew that the time to act was now. The humans had grown too powerful, and their demands were growing bolder by the day. "We can't wait any longer," said the Ferocian leader, his voice a low growl. "We've seen what they're capable of. We've seen how they crush all who oppose them. But we have one advantage: they underestimate us." The Skelchen representative, her face hard with determination, nodded in agreement. "The humans may have the strength, but they don't know us. We know their weaknesses. We've been studying them. Every move, every tactic. They're not invincible." A Mardak spy, cloaked in shadow, spoke next. "But we can't take them on directly. Not yet. We need to strike when they least expect it. We need to break their grip on the galaxy, piece by piece. If we can destabilize their control, we can turn the tide." A murmur of agreement ran through the room. The leaders knew that the first step in their fight was to weaken the humans' hold on the galaxy. They had to cripple the infrastructure that the humans had built, sabotage their command centers, and most importantly, break their morale. It would be a long, difficult fight. But they had no choice. And so the first attacks began. Small, calculated strikes on human supply lines, covert operations aimed at sabotaging their technology, and guerrilla warfare on the planets the humans had conquered. Each strike was a message. The galaxy was not going to roll over without a fight. But despite the efforts, it was clear that the humans were always one step ahead. Meanwhile, on the human-controlled world of Kormar, the human military leaders were watching the resistance movements with growing interest. They had anticipated some form of opposition, but they had underestimated the galaxy's ability to rally together. The humans, once thought to be invincible, were starting to feel the pressure. The resistance had made it clear. They would not bow down. "What are they trying to accomplish?" one of the human commanders asked, his voice laced with frustration. "We have crushed them at every turn, yet they still fight. They're more resilient than we thought." The leader of the human forces, a cold and calculating individual named General Arkel, looked out at the galaxy's map, his eyes narrowing. "They don't understand. They cannot win. But they will learn. We will teach them that resistance is futile." In the shadow of the growing rebellion, the galaxy's leaders began to realize something even more disturbing. The humans were not acting out of mere conquest. They had a plan, a long-term agenda that was far more terrifying than anyone had imagined. Their power, their relentless drive, was not just for control, it was for complete domination. They wanted to break the will of the galaxy, to reshape it in their own image, with no room for opposition. General Arkel knew what had to be done. "If the galaxy wants war, we will give them war. But we will fight on our terms. We will crush the resistance before it has a chance to grow. We will make an example of them." Back on the front lines of the resistance, the leaders knew the human response was coming. They could not afford to wait any longer. The humans were preparing for a full-scale assault to crush the rebellion once and for all. The galaxy's leaders had no choice but to prepare for the worst. "Get ready," the Ferocian leader said, his voice steady despite the growing threat. "This will be the fight of our lives. We fight not just for survival, but for the future of the galaxy." The leaders of the resistance knew that they had only one shot at this. They had to rally every ship, every soldier, every fighter who was willing to stand against the humans. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and it would not be easy. The humans had been unstoppable so far, but the galaxy's resolve was hardening. The resistance was growing, and it was clear that the humans would not be able to crush them all. For the first time, the galaxy's leaders saw a glimmer of hope. If they fought together, they might be able to push back against the humans. But the cost would be high. The humans were not easily defeated, and the resistance would have to be prepared to give everything in order to save their homes, their worlds, and their freedom. The galaxy's future hung in the balance. Would the humans crush the rebellion and solidify their rule over the galaxy? Or would the resistance, fueled by their desperation and unity, succeed in pushing back the terrifying conquerors? The war was only beginning, and the final outcome remained uncertain. The final stand. The galaxy was on the brink of collapse. Every world was caught in the grip of fear and uncertainty. The resistance had grown stronger, fueled by the desperate will to preserve their way of life, but so had the human forces. The war had escalated, and it seemed there was no end in sight. On the planet Rylos, the heart of the Resistance's campaign, the galaxy's leaders gathered for what would be their final council. The humans were massing their forces for a full-scale assault, and time was running out. The battle to decide the fate of the galaxy would begin soon, and the stakes had never been higher. The Ferocian leader, now battle-worn and weary, slammed his fist on the table. We can't keep running. The humans are preparing to crush us once and for all. If we don't stand our ground now, we lose everything. The Skeltian leader, looking out the window at the gathering fleet of ships, nodded grimly. We've come too far to back down. This is the last chance we have to stop them. The humans may have the power, but we have something they don't, our unity. The Mardak leader, who had long been distrustful of the humans, spoke softly but with conviction. The humans are not just fighting to control us. They're fighting to break us, to destroy our spirit. We cannot let them win. Not like this. Across the galaxy, the final battle lines were being drawn. Resistance fleets were assembling in secret, preparing for the showdown of a lifetime. Ships from every corner of the galaxy, once divided by race and ideology, were now working together, driven by a single purpose: to stop the humans from turning the galaxy into their personal empire. But as the resistance gathered its forces, the humans were not standing still. General Arkell, ruthless and cold, knew that this would be the defining moment. He understood the significance of this battle. If the resistance survived, it would embolden every other world to rise against the humans. But if they were destroyed, it would break the galaxy's spirit, leaving them powerless to ever challenge human dominance again. "We are not here to negotiate," General Arkell said to his commanders, his voice filled with cold determination. "We are here to end this. The galaxy belongs to us, and we will show them what happens when they defy us." As the final day of battle approached, the galaxy's leaders felt the weight of what was to come. For some, it would be the end of everything they had fought for. For others, it was a last chance at redemption. But for all, it was a moment of reckoning. The humans had not just come to conquer. They had come to crush every last ounce of resistance. And yet, despite the overwhelming power of the humans, the galaxy had one thing the humans could never replicate: the indomitable spirit of freedom. The battle began in the early hours of the morning, as the human fleet descended upon Rylos with terrifying speed. Massive ships, far outnumbering the Resistance's forces, filled the sky. But the galaxy's fleets were not about to give up without a fight. Their ships, smaller but agile, danced around the human behemoths, unleashing waves of fire. The Resistance had learned much in their years of fighting, and they now knew how to strike fast, hit hard, and disappear before the humans could retaliate. The first wave of human ships fired relentlessly, but the Resistance was ready. Despite being outgunned, they fought fiercely, refusing to give in. The battle raged across the sky, with each fleet pushing forward, unwilling to back down. The humans had the power, but the galaxy's forces had something they could never take away: the will to fight. As the battle intensified, the humans' cold, calculated approach began to falter. They had expected the resistance to break, but instead, they found their forces outwitted at every turn. The galaxy's fighters were relentless, refusing to give up. Each victory, no matter how small, sent a message to the humans: they would not be crushed. Amid the chaos, the leaders of the resistance gathered in the heart of Rylo's command center. Their forces were holding their ground, but the humans were not far behind. It was clear they had one shot to win this. If they failed, it would be the end. The Skeltian leader looked at the holographic map, his finger tracing the human forces closing in on the planet. "We can't keep this up. If we don't take down Arkel's flagship, the humans will overwhelm us." The Ferocian leader, a veteran of many battles, nodded. "It's our only hope. We must strike at the heart of their fleet. If we can take down Arkel, we break their command structure. The rest will crumble." With a clear plan in mind, a small fleet of resistance ships, led by the galaxy's most skilled pilots, launched a final desperate attack on the human flagship. It was a suicide mission, but the resistance knew they had no choice. The humans were too powerful, too relentless, but they could not let fear rule them. The resistance ships soared toward the human flagship, dodging fire as they went. The human fleet was relentless, but they had underestimated the resolve of the resistance. The fighters weaved through the barrage of gunfire, making their way closer to the heart of the human forces. In a final, glorious act of defiance, the resistance fighters struck the flagship, taking it down in a massive explosion that lit up the sky. The battle was not over, but in that moment, the humans had lost their commanding presence. The galaxy's forces rallied, fighting harder than ever, their spirit unbroken. With the death of General Arkel and the fall of the flagship, the human forces were thrown into disarray. It wasn't an instant victory, but it was a crucial turning point. The humans were no longer invincible. The resistance had struck the heart of their power. The galaxy's leaders, battered but victorious, stood together as the final wave of human forces retreated. The humans had come to dominate, but they had underestimated the strength of a united galaxy. The battle had been hard, the cost high, but the resistance had won. And in that victory, they had secured the galaxy's future, not just by defeating the humans, but by proving that no one, no matter how powerful, could ever break their will to fight for freedom. The war was over. The humans had been driven back, and the galaxy was free. For now.